Well, Platini and Hayatou seem to have made up, but do you think their spat is part of a more serious issue?
Indeed, Richard, I think it is part of a more serious issue. I think the issue has its roots in the long-running tensions around the calendars issue, whereby you find the CAF Africa Champions League, which is the showpiece tournament of the continent, running at around the same time as the European Uefa league's own club championship flagship season, whereby you see the continental competitions reaching their peaks and with the top teams vying for continental prestige. And then some of these coaches, of course, have African stars at the core of their teams, and then these stars are then recalled by their federations to go and play for a continental competition, which is quite, in my opinion, as equally prestigious, but then it offsets the planning and the rhythm of many teams in Europe. So this spat has its roots right there, and this is why it's playing out in the way it is, because CAF would then have really wanted, UEFA rather, would really have wanted CAF to align its calendars in terms of continental competitions to align with UEFA's national team tournaments like the UEFA Cup. To make sure that when the European teams go into recession so that the players can go to national duty, the Africans would then have a continental competition whereby then they would also leave the teams so that there wouldn't be this club versus country debate that also plays on the fringe. So you see that the one situation actually has impact on several factors at the heart of world football between Africa and Europe.
Now, shouldn't FIFA be the peacemaker? What have they made of all this?
Well, FIFA plays a very interesting role in this because FIFA really should make a judgment. But FIFA, on the one hand, seems to be playing both referee but also sideline observer because in terms of FIFA's makeup, the various confederations are semi-autonomous. Although they belong to the mother body, they have the right to decide how their calendars run, and they owe their allegiance to FIFA as a world body. But FIFA is very, I'd say, reluctant to interfere in the internal affairs of the various federations, because FIFA then lobbies them for votes when it comes to the critical time of choosing the presidency and the various leadership structures. So FIFA would not impose its own will on, let's say, CAF, for instance. If Platini would then go to lobby FIFA's leadership, for instance, and say, look, force CAF to come and align its calendar to Europe. The CAF can then turn around and go to the other smaller federations and when it's time to elect a president, then get a block and remove the incumbent. So with FIFA, it's all about politics.
Right. If a European-based African player had to contract Ebola, what do you think it would mean for European football?
Touch wood, this would not happen. This would effectively be disastrous, I think, for the relationship between the European teams, UEFA, and the African smaller clubs, especially in the affected regions. We know that Europe for the longest time has seen Africa as a fertile breeding ground, if you will, for talent, where they come and they excavate the raw, rough talents and then take them to Europe. And, Yaya Toure is an example, Didier Drogba, all these are African players who've made their names in Europe, and they are the backbones of their teams and respected in Europe. So if Ebola had to be taken to Europe by an African player, this would effectively force the Europeans to, cut the ties with Africa, so to speak, until this issue is contained. We wouldn't see such a free flow of players from Africa to Europe, and it would then also put a cap on some of the rising and promising stars on the continent who want to go and make their names there.
Now, speaking of Ebola, Morocco does not want to host the tournament. Should the tournament be postponed because of Ebola?
The simple answer is no. I think for CAF it's very, very important because of this particular rivalry, in context of the particular rivalry with UEFA. For CAF it's important to show that CAF has got contingency plans and Africa has got the capability to have a plan B. So the answer is no, it should not be postponed. I think people should take their hats off to Morocco to say we don't have the confidence that we have the capacity to contain any particular outbreak or to prevent an outbreak should there be a threat of an outbreak. We don't want to even take the chance. But other nations around the continent would then perhaps throw their head into the hat and say, we will be able to host a tournament given that they have the right infrastructure and that they have the right capabilities to produce a credible and also a quality product which fans would then be able to enjoy.
Okay, Tommy, in your opinion, who should host the tournament? Should Morocco bow out?
Should Morocco bow out? I think it's time for CAF to be brave, in my personal opinion, and give it to a different candidate. I think the default plan B is always South Africa. Whenever there are questions about a country's capability or ability rather to host a tournament of this magnitude, South Africa comes in because South Africa has done the 2010 World Cup and they've done several CAF Champions Leagues and continental showpieces successfully. The infrastructure is there, and in terms of containing any particular threat of Ebola, the South African government has already come out and say there is no chance of that happening. We've got the means to contain, to observe, and to make sure it doesn't happen. But I think the time has come for another federation to put its head up and say, we can do it.
But let me checkmate you right now. South Africa has denied taking the tournament. What next?
Yes, it's very important. Politically, South Africa doesn't want to be seen to be playing bully on the continent, to be seen to be hogging the limelight, so to speak. South Africa has always pitted itself as the ambassador of continental showpiece, as the nation which wants to push the African agenda forward. Okay. So I think South Africa should put its head in its name in the hat, but backing another federation to host this, to say, look, we can give advice, we can give any technical support that will be needed, but it's time for a new kid on the block to come forward. And of course, the infrastructural benefits that come with hosting such a big showpiece also benefit the locals in the long run, as we've seen pretty much with 2010 and what it's done for South Africa. BRT is now running, although it has its problems, but certainly the populace would benefit.
Okay, Tommy, I'm not going to let Morocco off the hook just yet. A country comes out and says, we do not want to host a tournament because of fears of Ebola. That therefore invariably says you can have it, and whatever effects Ebola may have on your country, there you go. That's how it sounds to me. Can you clarify that up for our viewers?
I think CAF should be strong. I think CAF should sanction Morocco. In terms of how the process works, countries then would apply, and there will be bidding processes, and this whole process has been done up to a certain point, and up till before the Ebola crisis became such a tragic and really I'd say snowballing disaster in West Africa. Morocco was confident that it would deliver a successful tournament. Now CAF should hold them to that and say, you put your name in the hat, and now you must deliver, because it'll make it very convenient for any federation to put its name in the hat, and then when things don't suit them, to say, well, we can't do it, someone else might. This sets a precedent, and this would then compromise CAF as the mother body.
Okay, Tommy, thank you for your insight and analysis. Great.